Hey there YouTube, welcome back to the Allegheny Northern. This is a how-to and product review video. That's right, you're getting a combo, both a how-to video and a review of the Woodland Scenics Utility System. So if you'd like to see my opinions and how I put on the utility system, hang around. That video coming up right after this. Okay, first thing is, I'm sure everyone has seen the very colorful ads, the advertisements on YouTube, etc. Woodland Scenics has been trying to push this product for a very long time. It seems like forever. And if you were like me when you first saw this, you got really excited because one, Woodland Scenics typically puts out some pretty good material, and two, well, it serves a need, and that is, I didn't have any modeled wire on my layout, and let's face it, it is a standard component of just about every city everywhere. Even if most of the town has wiring underground, there is still an above ground service that comes in somewhere. So first, let's review the parts, pieces. They make several components to this, and it is a double crossbar. There is a single crossbar version, which I did not get, and then of course there is the transformer and connection set. So when you get these things, they are very interestingly packaged. I will show you that. And out of all of the somewhat extravagant packaging that Woodland Scenics has come out recently for the new line of products and their new rebranding, I guess, I really don't know how they're doing it, but this packaging actually makes a lot of sense, and it makes working on these things pretty convenient. In fact, it's really the only thing that is convenient about them, and I'm going to show you why here in just a minute. Now, what they have done here is they have done pretty faithfully a good match of what you may find in any urban or suburban, even some rural areas, in that when you buy this, you do get the poles and the line, and you also get some guy wires, and I'll show you how those are used here in a minute. When you get the transformer and connection set, you get the same kind of setup. You get the 2 meters for each service pole and a transformer, and you do get the conduit running down to the meter, and you get the weatherhead molded on. All of these are pre-weathered, pre-painted. You don't need to do anything to them, which is actually kind of a nice feature, unless you really want to spend time. I don't know why, it's just sort of a nuisance to me, but so that is a nice setup for getting started. Now, the only thing is, if you were modeling a big industry that may have, say, a 3-phase power or some bigger power, you only get one transformer. So you're somewhat limited. This is more of a residential, small commercial type of deal. So limitation, maybe at some point in time they will come out with multiple transformers you could buy to add on to your lines if you wanted to put a bigger service in or something like that to represent a bigger service. But for right now, single service transformer, and we'll show you how that works. Before we get on to the rest of the video here for the telephone pole system, I want to just tease one thing here. First of all, I did finally get the generators. Got the nice cat logo on it. They are Jacksonville Terminal. Everyone knows this is my new favorite company as far as intermodal stuff goes. In fact, I just found out that they also released some well cars, so I probably going to purchase those. I'm a little concerned because some of the minimum radiuses might be a challenge for my layout, so I'm going to buy a set, see what happens. But finally have the generators, so those are pretty cool. I don't know if they're going to go on trains, trucks, or in a construction site somewhere, but well detailed, ready to go. And let me tease you to what might be an upcoming project video. So those are some cross gates and some cameras. And if you know what these are for, then you'll know what's coming. Once you have the installation complete, you get something that looks exactly like this. You've got a very detailed pole, insulators, and all of the wires stretched wonderfully across, in this case, 6 inches worth of space. You'll notice there's a little transformer hanging right here with service lines across to a service pole. And you also get your weatherhead, your conduit, and your meter. And that completes your installation. So each of these components gives you a full service. Now, they do give you a little tiny bit of wire. It's basically a black thread on the end of the transformer, and that is to be wired up into the insulators up above. And they do give you a very small utensil, just like this. And if you've ever gotten a generic little sewing kit, you'll notice this is the same device used to pull thread through the eye of a needle. So there is one of these in each of the wiring kits, so that if anything would ever come undone, you can simply hook the wire on the end and pull it back through where it belongs. So this is handy, but you do get one of these, and it's just a very cheap aluminum. I mean, it's nothing to bend it, but you do get one of these in every kit you buy. So you're going to have a ton of these things left over. But what it does is when you're done, you get a very realistic, fully threaded set of cables, and you've got quite a bit of it left over. Now, one thing I will tell you is it comes in this really cool little spool thing that as you pull it, the wire spools out, so nothing gets tangled. Even if you dropped it, I'm not going to try it, but I think even if you dropped it, to some degree, you probably could keep this thing together, which is a really nice feature. So here's the kit that has the next transformer in it, and simply with a 1/16 drill, you could put these things every 6 inches on center for end scale, and wire a layout fairly easily. Now, I say easily, but I don't mean fast. And what I mean by not fast is you have to super glue the meter to the conduit, the string, the wire to the weatherhead. Then you have to super glue the transformer to the pole. Now, while all of that sounds very, very easy, since I'm working on a built layout already, as most of you will when you do this, this should be a final step in an area. Quite frankly, that process of gluing all those components together is just straight up ignorant. It's just the transformer doesn't want to stick, and then the strings don't want to stay, and it's not a fault of the product, so to speak. It's the nature of trying to glue something that doesn't want to be where you're putting it, basically. So it's a little ignorant trying to get it on there, but it can be done, and it's not terrible. It's just kind of a pain in the ass. So here are the tools that you're going to need. You're going to want some kind of a measuring device so you can make sure that your poles are centered. For, like I said, for end scale, it's 6 inches on center according to the directions. You are going to need your trusty super loop. You're also going to need a pair of tweezers. These are going to come in handy for picking up the small transformers and other pieces. And then, of course, you're going to need a modeler's knife to cut the wires loose. The last thing you will need will be a drill, and that is to drill your 1/16 inch holes at each of the locations. Real quick, I will show you exactly how this system goes together and how to place your poles. Okay, most Woodland Scenics, when new products, when you take them out, they've got this little fancy foam. It's kind of like it's sort of adhesive, but not really. It'll sort of stick to some things, but not everything. It's really, really, really light. So if you just remove that very, very carefully, you can free your poles and your wiring. And one thing that we didn't talk about that I should mention is one of the things they give you in the kit, and it's on a little bit of tape here, but they are guy wires. And if any of you have paid any kind of attention to traffic and telephone poles and that sort of thing, you'll notice these little tiny wires. And of course, these things are very fragile, especially in N scale, because they're so tiny. They are used to support a pole at the end of a run, or where multiple possibly services connect. Anywhere there's additional strain on the pole that may cause it to bend or move. And the lower end, where it would be near people, often has a yellow protector on it, and then that would mount right to the pole. So at your end, your pole runs, where like maybe your electric service goes underground, let's say, you would have a guy wire that would help hold this pole back against the weight of all of these lines running from pole to pole. So they do give you 2 of these in every kit, which is really nice, and you can use those either to support a service pole that may have a couple of services off of it. You can use it at the end of a long run like this. Whatever you put it, take a look and see where they're really used in real life. But that is a really nice feature to have in your kit, just because it's a small detail, and to me, it's something much like, a street sign on a layout. Are people going to notice if it's not there? No. But when it is there, they are going to take notice and go, wow, that's a lot of detail. So, okay, what I've done is, I'm assuming at this point everybody knows how to operate a drill. So I went and I drilled my holes for my new lines, and I drilled them at the appropriate 6 inches on center. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out my poles from the packaging, and one thing you will note is they are all pre-wired, and they have these nifty little spools I was showing you earlier. So I'm going to get them out of our way where we're working, and I'm going to pick these up just like this. And it's a little difficult to do with one hand, but we're going to see what we can do here. And the idea is to pull very gently so that the wires come out of the spool. And this is probably going to require 2 hands. So let me put this down here for just a second, get my 2 hands going. And of course, while trying to do demonstrations, I would pull the one set that I bought that had the wire that came out of the spool. And so when I tried to pull it, it screwed everything up. But typically, when you don't do that, or don't get that particular one, this works out really, really well. And you can just grab these wires, and they pull right out of that little bit of, I don't know what you want to call it, that tubing there. There's a spool inside, and that acts as a roller, and as you pull this, the wire just comes right out, and so it doesn't get tangled or anything else. Now, you'll notice here that I've got these things in kind of a mess. I would try to avoid doing this, only because why take the risk of making a knot somewhere you don't want it? But my point is that this stuff is very forgiving. So I've gone and drilled my 1/16 hole right where I want it, approximately 6 inches from the previous, and I'm going to set it in place. Now, it gives instructions that you can glue it in place, but it's not really, I'm pulling up on it now, and it's not coming out, so it's a pretty snug fit around there. I think with a little bit of scenery to max the opening, it's probably going to be in place. And then if you ever need to move it for any reason, you can go ahead and do that. Now we're going to take the next one in line, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take it, and we're going to place it into the hole that I had pre-drilled for it. And then we're going to, as you can see, we're just going to stretch this out a little bit. And then we're going to grab our next pole in line, and we're going to find our next hole right here. And we're going to insert our telephone pole. Might have got a little bit of debris in there, so it's not fitting quite as far in as I want. There we go. Okay, we're going to want to get all of our lines pulled nice and tight here because I was moving them around and trying to demonstrate this, so I got them a little bit out of order here. But as you can see now, I've got this whole thing strung. And it's a little hard in that video to actually see it, but I'll try to get it against the background here so you can see what's going on. But you can tell that even with me goofing around with this thing, I don't really, the wires aren't staying necessarily tangled. I can move them around, I can move the poles, and I can get them into place where I want them. So I'm going to finish that install, and then we're going to come back and we're going to go ahead and join our two kits together, and then I'm going to show you putting in the service. Okay, I'm real glad I turned the camera off here because well, this is one of those humbling moments where you think you can do everything and you got it all figured out, and then you realize you can't. And I'll be honest with you, I was a little uncomfortable with the language that I was using to put this thing together. And I don't know if there's any women that watch this channel, but the language I was using was definitely not mixed company appropriate. But it's done now, and I have my two kits, the end of the first kit, the beginning of the second kit wired up. It's drying now, and I'll be honest with you, this part of the project, it just went tits up. It was not good. The wires, the thread didn't want to stay in place, and just when I thought I held it there long enough for the glue to catch, I'd let it go, and I would end up with super glue everywhere. In the process of trying to trim it, I accidentally cut one of the wires free from the other side. All of the errors, I'm sure, were my error, but combining these two kits was just a royal pain in the ass, and it was not fun. So you're going to have patience when you do this. This is probably the biggest drawback of the kit that I've seen, is that there's no way to join other kits together other than gluing them. I'm going to try a couple of different techniques. The first one I used was I cut all the wires free, and I had enough there to play with. I actually had extra, and I put a little bit of the glue, let it dry just a little bit, and then I placed the wires in it. Well, there's enough tension between the poles that these wires don't want to stay in place. They want to pull back out towards the last pole in place. And it was just, it sucked. All right, it sucked. It was not enjoyable. But let's get past that. We are installed now, and I've calmed down. I'm not using foul language anymore. So we have it installed. I do need to go in here when this is all dried and clean up. There's some extra wires in here that need to be removed. That needs cleaned up. Like you can see right here, this end needs removed. But unless you've got only about 24 inches of area where you need telephone poles, you are going to have to join a kit together, and best of luck to you because it blows. So have fun with that. But now that we've got it all in line here, and you can see that our wires are in place, and we can just give these a little snug here, and we can tighten them up throughout the whole system, and it looks good. Okay, so we've got a wired system. The poles do look good, so we can continue on. Now, I've already got poles that I had in place here. These are the old, I think they're Model Power. They got a little bit of a paint job to give them some color. But I'm slowly pulling these out and replacing with the Woodland Scenics. Now, my poles go up and they follow the tracks, and then they go up there around the corner, and then they disappear. So the question is, how far up the track do I go with the Woodland Scenics, which I'm going to call the premier pole over these Model Power ones? And the answer is I don't know yet, because I don't know if there's a place where I can't transition and just cover these with black thread and continue that illusion on, or if I need to come back and replace all of these with Woodland Scenics. I haven't decided yet. I don't know yet. It's a visual thing. These kits are fairly expensive. I mean, you're $20 each, and I go, in my own mind, is that really expensive? No, it's not. I mean, it's not. But if you're trying to do an entire layout, the price adds up fast. So I don't know how I'm going to do that yet. Haven't thought of it. But anyway, I need to show you how to install a transformer set. So we're going to do that right now. Okay, first things first, when you're going to install the service, it is set up exactly like the rest of the poles. It comes pre-wired. Your transformer is on one end, and you've got a cable spool on the other. And if you just pull up gently, you'll take out the whole spool. But if you hold it in place and pull, you can go ahead and pull the wire out. And once again, we're going to take our pre-drilled hole, and we're going to install our service pole, just like that. And then our transformer, which of course has gotten twisted up in the process here, is going to go back to... Now, the placement of the wires is very important here. You want to make sure that your pole is oriented so that the wires are coming out in the direction they're going. So what I mean is, you know, this transformer is going to run to that pole right there. So I wouldn't have the wires coming out facing that direction because they're not going that way, they're going this way. So all we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we got enough cable here, and we're going to extend this across the street, and our transformer is going to sit up right about here. Now, for what I'm going to do is, I'm going to put the camera down again, but I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do in this process. I'm going to take this pole out of the hole. One of the reasons I didn't glue it down. I'm going to use super glue to attach this transformer right to the pole. There's no notching or anything else, just a little bit of glue. And then when that is done, we'll come back here and we'll look at putting the service line from the pole to the building itself. Okay, so I'm prepared to mount the meter on the building here, and as you can see, I've got a little guy, a little electrician there, got his foot up on a cable spool, and looks like he's looking at it. Okay, no, he wasn't really part of the set there. I put him there strictly as my gauge as to where that meter should be mounted. So when you take the meter out of the box, which comes in a box, looks just like that, the meter side is the side that has, well, the meter painted on it. I know that sounds silly, but don't put it backwards, otherwise it's not going to look right. And it just glued on the side of the building. And of course, these meters are going to be mounted at a height for a worker to be able to come up and quickly read the meter. So I use my little electrician here as my gauge as to where that should be posted. And right now, with him checking his little clipboard, he is right at the meter height, so perfect. Now the next thing that we need to do is we need to add the weather head and conduit for the service line. That's going to sit right on top of our meter, and we are going to orient. So we've got the pole right there, and the service line will be coming in a straight line off of that. So we will take this with just a spot of super glue and angle it towards the pole so that it's a straight line between the pole and the weather head. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. Okay, so you've seen how that goes together. You've seen what it looks like when it's done. And I guess the question is, okay, so what do we think about this product? Well, as you can tell, I've got quite a few pieces, so I'm somewhat committed to it at this point. But my opinion of it is the same as most other Woodland Scenics products. It's very detailed. I like the way they're painted. The system that the pre-wire is very, very nice. The only thing that totally blows, and like I said, it blows bad, is having to connect the wires to each other. I'm gonna try a couple of techniques. If I find one that's better, I will amend this video in one of my updates and say, you know what, guys, I found this other way to do it, and here's it is, and it'll make your life so much easier. But if I don't, then though this will stand as my final opinion on wiring these things up. Now, I have in the past put using the model power poles that I showed you earlier, I have run black thread between them all. And I remember that being a pain in the ass just as much. So this system gives you the benefit that, one, everything's already painted. Two, it looks good the way they've got it. It's a pretty nice complete system. And three, it's already pre-wired, so you take that step out of it. So you really only have an issue at the end of the line, basically. And depending on the size of the layout you're trying to do, the size of the area, it depends on how much of a headache you have. It's not going to be a fast process to put these poles up, but do I think they add a nice touch? Yes, I do. Do I think that they're worth the money? Yes, I do. Am I totally stoked about how easy everything went together? Yeah, right up until the point where you got to glue the wires together, everything was going smooth. So if you're thinking about this system, I definitely recommend it. I know it's been hard to find. So what I did is, the hobby shop that I typically shop at, it allows you to get notified when a product is available. So I just clicked that and said, okay, notify me. And just as a prelude to what is coming here, this set does have a substation, and I have it coming. It's on order. It's going to be here very, very soon. And when it arrives, it is going to be a very nice addition to the power plant, which to this point has sort of not really made much videos. And you can tell that the coal cars right now are missing. So what we're going to do is, right now I've got an entire section of the layout that, as you can tell, this is pretty much my reachable area from this side. So the turnout back there is hard to reach, and it's a little easier from over there. But from here, where this layout juts out just this extra little bit to get this one last scene in, it's a little difficult to reach back there. So I'm actually going to remove a portion of this mountain coming up here, and that big old electric substation is going to sit right in here. So this whole area is going to get redone. And I know most of you probably have never seen it, but there is actually a lake back there. Yeah, see that? There's a lake back there. All that scenery we're missing. So we're going to expose all of that in an upcoming video. So I hope this video was useful to you. If you were thinking about making the plunge into the Woodland Scenics telephone pole, power pole system, it's definitely something that I would recommend. I've got plenty of places and roads where it would look appropriate. So I do plan on adding it to the rest of the layout. And I'm going to add it sequentially. It'll just add some nice detail to the back of these buildings, where you have the conduit running down the building, you've got the meter. It's a back of house detail typically that I think isn't getting modeled because there wasn't a good product to do it, and it was sort of a pain in the ass. Well, now it's just a lesser pain in the ass to do with the Woodland Scenics product. So overall, it's a decent product. You can tell, you're looking right here now and you see here's a Woodland Scenics, here's Woodland Scenics. A lot of the scenery is all Woodland Scenics. So obviously I don't shy away from their products. Even their lighting products are all over the place here. So definitely give this one a shot, and take your time, be patient with it. Don't expect to get the whole layout done in a night, and I think you'll be satisfied with the purchase.